Hello there. I hope everybody can hear me. If you can, do me a favor on the right-hand side in the chat box, just say, yes, I can hear you for me. My name is Bryan Caprice. I want to welcome everybody. I'll give you guys a good morning, good afternoon, and a good night, depending on where you're logging in from. Just as I'm waiting for you guys to type, I want to let you guys know that there is a slight delay in when you are typing to when I can actually see it. Typically, it's about anywhere from, I'd say, 6 to 10 seconds. So if you guys type something and I haven't responded yet, just give me a little bit of time. I'm not ignoring anybody, and I'll try to answer as many questions as I possibly can. So my name is Bryan Caprice. I'm one of the instructors at Major League Trading. Some of you may or may not know me before. But we're here tonight to talk about the 30-minute trader program that I put together. It's something that Jack and Eric, if you know those guys, they kind of got on me for a while to kind of get this thing together. It's a system that I trade due to my busy schedule and everything. So I'll kind of break that down for you in a second. This is live, Thomas. We try to do as many of these as live as possible. That way I can answer kind of specific questions related to what happened in the markets today. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I don't want to keep anybody too late this evening. So before we get started, let me go over a risk disclaimer very fast. No representation is being made that the use of this strategy or any strategy or trading methodology will generate profits. As people have heard before, past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Only risk capital in which you're able to lose. What I mean by that is don't use the rent money, don't use the mortgage, money to buy food. Make sure that it's always money that's disposable. And as you know, as you've heard before, the past performance of any trading system or methodology is not necessarily indicative of what it will do in the future. A lot of people ask questions about that. Just because I trade something and it works for me, is it guaranteed to work for everybody? The answer is no, because you trade things differently. Just be aware that in trading there is risk. Without risk, there is no reward. And with that being said, if you're willing to accept those risks, then we can continue forward. So let's dive in. Let's go through the agenda real fast. So what I'm going to cover briefly today is who benefits from this type of trading and what conditions it can be traded under. And not only just this, but different strategies in general. I'm going to mention what Nadex is if you haven't heard from it and why we use it with this strategy. I don't know if you may or may not have heard things about binary options or Nadex. There's a lot of ads out there, but a lot of people don't understand it. There's a reason why we use it. And hopefully you get that in this webinar. I'm going to explain what the Lunchtime Trader is, that we're going to cover that this evening. And then I'm also going to review what a news trader is and what an overnight trend trader is. Today was actually an amazing day to trade news. There was a huge explosion in natural gas pricing and actually a collapse in natural gas pricing. So it was an amazing news trade today. But I'll cover all three of these. I'm going to have the most time, and unfortunately, I wish I had a lot more time to cover them. But I'll do the best and get you as much information as I can. All right. So let's talk about who this is for. All right. This is for people, in general, just the 30-minute trader program. It's for people that work full time and can't log in during normal work hours. The saying used to be that I work a 9-to-5 job. But the reality is most people are not working a 9-to-5 job anymore. It turns out that it's more like an 8-to-6 job, and that doesn't even count the commuting in the morning and the afternoon. A lot of people don't barely even get any money, any time during lunch. We're just expected to work more hours. We tend to get paid less. We can work harder, but that doesn't typically make us more money. It makes our bosses more money. So, at the end of the day, we're working to make somebody else more rich. This strategy was really created for people that want to kind of take control of that. All right. I'm sure there's a few people in this room that probably work more than 40 hours a week and, still feel like they're living paycheck to paycheck or they're always behind. You're not alone. There's people that are out there all the time. Another one that this is really designed for is people who want to trade before they go to bed at night. When I first started trading, my mentor, I'd ask him like, well, how long do you trade? Because I figured, this guy must be sitting in front of a computer for like 12 hours a day, 15 hours a day. I mean, this guy's just doing amazing in the markets. And he looked at me and said, he's like, Bryan, I'll be honest with you. I spend 30 minutes a day trading. And I looked at him. I said, what? And he said, yeah, I spend 30 minutes a day trading. I basically, I look at the charts for about 15 minutes before I go to sleep. I place my trades. And then I go to sleep. And when I wake up, I'll look see where the trades are, see if they hit profit or I got stopped out. And I'll make adjustments as needed. And then I go about the rest of my day. And I was just absolutely just kind of shocked. I was flabbergasted. I was like, how is that possible? Aren't you supposed to be sitting in front of 12 different screens and looking at news, data coming in from 5 different news sources? Like, how is that possible? So this is for people that want to do that. Make a little bit of extra money on the side. I mean, if you're a full-time trader, this is still a great strategy for you to add additional income. I've never found anybody that was, basically was like, I don't want to make extra money. It's not good. If you have extra money, you don't want it, give it to somebody. It's also for people who want to trade before they go to work. A lot of people wake up a little bit earlier and do some errands in the morning. Think about it. You may be one of those people that you're a morning person. I have twin sons. One of them is a morning person. One of them is not. But the one that is a morning person, he's up, half hour before me typically. Just think if I could teach him to be able to log in, spend a half hour before he goes, I bring him out to school and he can trade and make a little bit of money for himself. Well, you could do that if you have a full-time job. Wake up a little bit earlier, spend 10, 15 minutes looking at charts, setting your trades up, and then what will happen is those trades will, come to fruition throughout the day while you're working. And then at the end of the day, you get a nice surprise when you get home. Or if you have a smartphone, just go ahead and look at your positions during the day. All right. Another one, this is for new people that are scared of losing money. And when I say new people, I mean people that are brand new to trading. It's a great strategy for you guys to get in there and start trading without having a lot of risk. The markets can be pretty volatile, and one of the biggest reasons why people don't make money in the market is because of fear. Okay. You get in there and you take a small loss, and then all of a sudden you're throwing everything out the window, all your rules, you're letting emotions control you. This is a very emotionless system. We actually got a text message the other day for one of our alerts, and the guy said, "Oh my God, this is amazing! I don't even have to look at charts, and I can trade this," which was kind of great because this guy was, a little bit, as he said, "I'm computer challenged." So for new traders, it's a great way. It's also a great way to start with if you have a smaller account. When I first started trading, I had all the time. I had what I thought was a lot of knowledge. I just didn't have a lot of money to start out with. Whenever you're starting a new business, you always want to make sure that you're adequately capitalized for it. The nice thing is, because, the reason we chose Nadex is because you can start with very small amounts of money. So even if you're brand new at trading or you're trading full time with, say, a futures account, you could open up an additional account for a very, very small amount of money, test this in a live environment, and start making some good money out of it. So it's something that anybody can really trade. All right. This is also for people who want to make money during the lunch break. As I mentioned before, some people get a lunch hour. Some people get lunch 30 minutes. Some people don't get any lunch at all. You may be one of those people. But think about it. If you can make 50 to 100 bucks every day at lunch, how cool would that be at the end of the week when you've made $500? That's like an extra $2,000 a month on a very, very tiny account, and you did that during your lunch break. And typically that's when, you start questioning, why do I have this full-time job when I'm able to make this much money just during lunch? And that's a fun conversation to have with your significant other. Typically they're very supportive. It's like, honey, if you can work, half the time or a quarter of the time and make just as much money and you can be home to help more, I'm all for it. And that's how you get supportive help with this. All right. It's also for people with a smartphone or tablet. You don't need some crazy trading computer. You don't need 12 monitors. You can trade this, on a smartphone or even a tablet if you have it, if it has internet service. I actually made a trade dropping my kids off at school yesterday. I was just on my smartphone. The strike prices came out that I was looking for. I was literally waiting in the parking lot to do drop off with them and logged in, saw what I wanted, and hit buy and sell, and literally got the position that I wanted. It's very, very fast. It's very, very efficient. Okay. So what are the different types of market conditions that the 30-minute trader can work with? All right. So there's 3 different types of market conditions that traders out there are aware of. The first one is a trending market, and everybody loves trending markets. There's sayings for them. The trend is your friend. Well, trending markets typically occur. I would say the best 2 opportunities are one before work. Okay, if you're going to set it up, the markets will trend during the day. But alternatively, nighttime trading is very kind of conducive to trend trading. Why? Because think about it. Who's trading in the middle of the night? Nobody, right? Just computers. Typically, computers need to get the price to a certain spot before the morning happens. So what do? They kind of battle back and forth, and it's like a chess match, and they typically will grind price down to a specific area. You don't see the ups and downs typically in overnight trading. So that's what trending markets are, okay? Typically tends to take some time. It's not necessarily fast moving, but it will grind to where you need to go. So if you're a before work trader or a nighttime trader, these are the type of markets you're wanting. This is the type of trend trader you're going to be. Now, sideways ranging markets are probably the most difficult to trade for people. Why? Because nothing moves. If you look in this middle picture here, you'll see that it basically stays in a narrow band. It literally just goes sideways, right? And you say, Brian, how is it possible to make money if the market doesn't move? I need it to go up or down. Most people don't even know how to make money when it goes down. But even the people that do, they're totally confused how to make money when it goes sideways. Now, sideways ranging markets occur both at lunchtime as well as overnight, depending on what's going on in the market as well as other factors. But they're very, very quick trades. I mean, some of these trades, when I say lunchtime A lot of these trades take place in 20 minutes. I mean, imagine making 50 bucks in 20 minutes waiting for a Starbucks, and then you go about the rest of your day. Okay, that's what the sideways ranging market trader is for, a 30-minute trader. Now, news breakouts. This is probably the most popular question we get asked. Bryan, how do we trade news? I'd love to trade news. I love that excitement of waiting for the number to come out, but I don't want to gamble. Okay, I don't want this to be gambling. Okay, news breakouts happen all day long. You know, there's morning, there's lunchtime, there's nighttime. You can literally trade these anytime that you want, but they're some of the most exciting type of trading. And the most important thing is to focus on risk. The 30-minute trader actually is something that you can do during those time frames, okay? Whether it be lunchtime, morning, or night. So based off of this slide, figure out what makes the most sense for you if you were going to become a trader. Would you be before? Would you be during lunch? Would you be nighttime? Maybe you would do all three. Spend 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there, an hour here, you know, whatever it turns out to be, and kind of keep that in your mind for the rest of the webinar, because I want you to start thinking of strategies and how these would match up to what you could possibly trade, okay? Now, let's go to the next section. What is Nadex and why are we using it? Now, you may or may not have heard binary options. You know, when I, a couple years ago, first heard about binary options, all I heard was bad stuff. Oh my God, they're overseas, they're going to steal your money, and they were horrible, and all those things were absolutely true. Well, the United States decided that they needed to regulate it. Now, Nadex, if you've ever heard a commercial for that, Nadex is one of the, and I think it's actually one of two at this point. Nadex is definitely, without a doubt, it's the largest regulated binary options firm in the United States. Okay, it is CFTC regulated. Now, you may not know what the CFTC is, but those are the same people that regulate the Chicago Board of Options as well as the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, where all our future contracts, okay, are regulated. Or, I'm sorry, are traded. So it's a very, very big group. Now, one of the other nice things about Nadex is it lets you trade everything. And what do I mean by that? Very simply this. When I first started stocks and options, I needed to have accounts for that, right? Well, once I started trading frequently enough, I needed to make sure that I had a day trading account. But then I also needed an options account that was different. And then when I found foreign currencies, then I had to open up another foreign currencies account. And then everybody tried to tell me that futures was the greatest thing since sliced bread, and I had to open up a futures account on top of that, as well as I had my wealth management account. So it turned out that I had 5 different accounts that I was trying to manage and run and, you know, make sure I did taxes on. The nice thing about Nadex is you can trade every single one of these things in one location. You can trade stock indices, you can trade forex, you can trade commodities. I mean, gold, oil, silver, natural gas. These are things you trade right here, and it's very, very simple. There's no contracts that are, you know, what am I using? When does it shift? So it's very easy for new traders to go in there and be able to get access to everything, okay? The fact that it was regulated was amazing to me. The fact that there are, you know, all you're paying is basically, you know, the commissions for the, you know, the trades. You know, Nadex is just an exchange, just like, as I mentioned before, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange or the CBOT or the NYSE. Those are exchanges. The nice thing is Nadex does not do any trading whatsoever, okay? All they are is a matchmaker. They match the buyers and sellers. Why do I like that one? Because they're not trading against you, okay? So it's great for this. The other thing is Nadex binary options provide a better protection on your account than having a stop loss, okay? Now, somebody in here is like, wow, come on, stop losses are the best, Bryan. You know, I've heard this before. This is all, you know, these things are just scams. I got to tell you, you know, being CFTC regulated and having a built-in stop loss because things are based off of $100 orders, I got to tell you right now, a stop loss is no guarantee that you're going to get out of money with a specific, you know, loss on there. It's a kind of a goal, or a, you know, for those of you that are more technical, a stop loss order is a trigger to send in a market order. Well, if the market's moved really, really far and you expect it and you set a stop loss for $50, can the market gap and you can lose $100 or $200 or $300? Absolutely. Well, guess what? You can't do that in Nadex binary options. Okay, that's why I like this as well, because for people that are risk averse, when you get into your position, you know exactly what your maximum loss is getting into it, and there's absolutely no way that you can lose more than that. Now, the last bit of this one is you can open up an account with as little as $250. Okay, it's very affordable, and if you don't have $250 to trade, you probably shouldn't be trading. Okay, it also doesn't take very time to fund the account. You could literally fund it and be ready to go this evening. Versus other companies that it takes days and then funding and then they clear it and there's all kinds of other things. So it makes it very easy for traders to get in there. So that's why I paired this system with Nadex binary options, because of all these things. All right. Now, let's talk about the sideways market, the lunchtime trader. This is what you're all here for. Okay. I'm going to tell you before we get started on this, the sideways market, the biggest thing that you need to watch out for is news. Why? Well, think about it. If we want the market not to move at all, what is one of the biggest market movers that exists? News, right? You can say, I mean, some people say earnings. Well, earnings is news, right? Interest rate decisions, news. Oil reports, news. Okay? All those things are news. So be careful of that one. If you learn one thing tonight, remember, don't trade sideways strategies in the news. Okay? Um, Stacy, yeah, futures blow right through stop losses. Yeah, they can. They can jump very, very fast. And when things gap, those stop losses don't do anything. Okay? Um, so sideways trading is best suited, I would say, ideally for lunchtime trading. Why? Because, the big market makers and the big guys in the markets, they go to lunch and they eat, okay? And during lunchtime hours, we typically see the market slowing down. We'll see volume disappear, and gives us a lot of opportunities. You can also do it overnight, but you got to make sure that there's no overnight news that can cause some issues with it. And what do you need to trade this during lunchtime? Literally, as I mentioned before, you can be on your PC if you want, but you can be on a smartphone or a tablet. Like I told you before, I was dropping my kids off at school and I placed it on my smartphone before the news on the day. Could I have done the same thing if I was at, eating lunch on my smartphone? Sure, I could have. I could have been eating a sandwich, drinking coffee, even waiting in line during lunch and taking advantage of the sideways market. Okay. So those are all the things that you can do with sideways trading. Now, let me give you a little bit of a history now. And here's a little caveat. What I'm showing you right now is where the strategy was built from. And this is with using traditional options. Traditional options are probably the most difficult thing to learn and become successful at. Why? Because there's so many moving pieces that are involved with it. Okay, there's things called the Greeks. All right, I'm not going to go into all the Greeks because that would take us another 8 hours. All right, but a butterfly was created to be a limited risk, non-directional option strategy. Okay, it's meant when you expect price not to move at all. Okay, it's meant for low volatility situations. Now, I will give you a little bit of terminology so you understand these things. If you see on the left, I talk about you're buying one ITM call and selling two ATMs and buying one OTM. So what that means in options is in the money, out of the money, and at the money. Okay, in the money means that there is actually profit, not just time value in there. At the money means that you don't actually have any, there's no money involved in it, but it's right where price is going to start making money, right? Out of the money means you're nothing right now. All you have is time value associated with it. If they expired right now, the only one that's going to make you any money would be the in the money. All right. So what happens is they built this, what's called an options tree, and they created what they call a long call butterfly. All right. What they're doing is they're buying one in the money call. They're selling two. So they're taking in money for selling two of those things at the money. And then what they're doing is they're buying one that's out of the money and they're using that one as protection. And what happens is if price stays right where it is right now, okay, so say it's at $40 right here, those two at the monies will all of a sudden expire worthless. Why? Because they haven't moved. They're at the money, but when they expired, guess what? They're not worth anything. So you were able to capture all the premium for selling those two things. And you had your protection on both sides. And the picture on the right is the risk graph, okay? If price brought below 30 or above 50, you took your maximum loss on the trade. But if it stayed at 40, that's where you got your maximum profit. Now, sounds like a great thing. Everybody likes this. But the problem is, and this is where the downfall is, price can't really move at all. It's got to be right where the strike is, okay? So what they did is they decided to kind of mix this around a little bit, right? They said, that's a little bit narrow for us. We got to be able to make this a little bit better. And what they did is they came out with what's called an iron condor. Now, they have so many fancy names, iron condors, there's iron butterflies, there's broken wing butterflies, there's Christmas trees. There's about 8 trillion names in the options market. Understanding what a put and a call is really the most important bit of options. But this kind of has the same idea. But instead of being a pyramid, that point in the middle, now what they did is instead of selling two things at one strike price, they actually separated those a little bit farther away. Now, you make less money on these trades, but it gives you a little bit more margin of error. Okay, it's still limited risk. It's still non-directional. It's still meant for low price movement, and it's still meant for low volatility situations, right? But now instead of being a point, now instead of just being at 40 making money, it can go between 45 and 50. It gives you a bigger range before it starts to tear down, okay? Same idea. Now, again, now it's where it gets really, really confusing, right? You're buying, you're selling a put, you're buying a put, you're selling a call, you're buying. Yeah, it gets kind of confusing, right? This is why Nadex is a lot better. We don't have puts and calls. We only have calls. It makes it a little easier. So what I did was I took these two ideas, all right, and I said, you know what? Based off how binary options work, particularly with Nadex, I can actually build something very, very similar and take advantage of no movement in the markets. Okay, so this is what I did. I built what I call a Nadex butterfly. Okay. Now it has the same risk curve almost as an iron condor. It's a little bit different in the fact that it doesn't have like kind of pyramided sides. It literally goes straight up and down. And the reason why it goes straight up and down is because with a binary option, you're either right or you're wrong. Okay. Meaning if everything's based off $100, you're either going to make $100 or you're going to make nothing on the trade. Okay. So in this case, let's say we base this off of 24.42. Okay. What we're doing is we're selling the strike price above the price, right? And we're buying the one below. Basically meaning that both of them are in the money. Okay. I'm sorry, they're kind of boxed in on either side, right? They're both in the money. And what we want price to do is literally expire right in the middle. If it expires anywhere inside of that range between 2440 and 2440.01, you make your maximum profit on this trade. Okay? How cool is that? It's not even a tiering. I mean, now you can see the difference. What would you rather have? A large, wide plateau like this, or literally a pointing face right up in the air, right? I mean, when I look at these two, I see this and I say, hey, wait a second. I got to be like a sniper on this one. I got to be deadly accurate, right? And this one's a little bit better, but, if I'm off at all, man, I start losing all these side pieces. This gives me the greatest potential for profit. Trading is about stacking the odds in your favor, getting an edge. And this is exactly what we were able to do by combining this with Nadex. So think about this. We took tested, tried and true option strategies, right? And what I did is I blend them with a new investment that is not only cheaper, better to get in, it made it much simpler and gave it a much bigger plateau of, basically profit potential. Okay. So I was so excited to finally release this to everybody because it's something that I've been trading for a while. And like I said, when the markets are doing nothing, particularly when I'm using small kind of sets for this, it's a great strategy to trade. Okay. Here's an example. And again, this was a live example. All right. I did the same thing. I sold the strike price above and I bought the one below. Okay. A lot of these trades are typically 1-to-1. I'm risking anywhere from $40 to $50 and I'm shooting to make anywhere from $50 to $60. Okay. Now remember, no upcoming news. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking also for declining volume. And why I'm looking for declining volume in this type of trading is because I don't want a lot of people in the market, right? When there's not a lot of people, not a lot of stuff happens. Okay. In this case, we were able to sell the 24.44. And we were able to buy the 24.40. And literally look at that price between 11.15 and 2.15. It stayed within that range for over 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Okay. Are regular traders making any money in there? No. I mean, literally, it's just bouncing up and down and up and down, and it literally stayed inside of the box for 2 hours. All right. So what does that look like as far as, earning potential? Okay. Oh, by the way, here's what we did in this one. And again, this is the ideal situation. It's always nice when you can find ideal examples. It just happened to be one that we were trading. Look at the chart on the right-hand side. See the bottom of that where you see all those blue bars? For those of you that don't know, that's volume. And I actually drew those red kind of trend lines on there, okay? Do you notice how the volume basically like declined and then crashed and then was really, really low from about 12:30 till about 2 o'clock, and then it started to pick up again? That would be the ideal time. That if I was sitting there looking at this and say, okay, we're ready to go. I mean, would it have worked from the 11:15 to probably 12:30 time frame? Sure, it would have. But again, it's better not to force a trade. Wait till it actually meets. And once that volume dropped, that was in. Okay. Now, ideally, you want to sell the top strike for 75 and then buy the bottom one. You'd buy the bottom one. You sell the top for 75. Basically, what you're doing, what I'm trying to confuse so many people, is you're taking $25 risk on the bottom and taking $25 risk on the top. Okay. So what you're gonna see is you're gonna see 75 and 25. That's what is next to those strike prices. And here's where this gets interesting. Okay. Sometimes people get confused. It's like, wait a second, if I'm buying something for 75 or selling it for 75, I have $75 at risk, and that's correct. If you look at this on one single side, yes, you have $75 risk. But the problem is it possible for the price to be above 244 and below 240 at the same exact time? Type that one in the chat so I can see who's still here. All right. Yeah, the answer is no. There is no way the price can be above and below at the same exact time. So the maximum risk in this is always going to be what your profit potential is on the one side minus what your cost was on the other. So worst case scenario, it's a 1-to-1 situation. Okay. Now, there are advanced exit strategies for this one that you can get out with less than a 1-to-1. In fact, and this is where it gets very, very cool, guys. One of the advanced strategies we teach is how to get out of this with almost basically a no risk trade. Okay, it is possible to get out with almost a zero loss on all the time, or a very, very tiny loss. Okay, we've actually taken some of these with the group where we've gotten out with a $2 or $3 loss total. Okay, we've had ones where we've literally gotten out at break even. So it's nice. Typically people that don't like risk are like, wait a second, you mean I can get out of this and there could be a free trade almost all the time? Tell me more. Okay, and that's why this is a great strategy. All right, so here's an example, and these were live ones that we took. Typically, it's best if you use 20-minute binaries or 2-minute binaries. Why? Because there's less risk that something could actually happen. In a 20-minute period during lunchtime, there's not going to be too much happening. If you do a daily strike where you have 17 hours to go till it expires, can stuff happen in 17 hours? Yeah, absolutely, right? But in 20 minutes or 2 hours, not a lot happens. Now, try to get as close to 50 risk, 50 reward as possible. Sometimes you can squeak it out a little bit better. In this case, I bought the bottom one for 76.75, so it's not right on 75. And then again, selling the top side for 23.25. Is it perfect? No. Is it close? Yeah, absolutely. It's fine, right? So that's what I was looking for in this case. All right. Now this one has an hour to go. It was actually a 2-hour binary, so it met our time requirement. The volume was low, like you guys saw before. Here's what the actual entry looked like. Okay. Actually, this one's a little bit different. This was the example that I gave you here. Okay. This was a different example that I took as well. Now, the reason I show this one, and let me explain this to me first. In this case, I was not able to get the price that I liked on the top strike. Okay. Remember, I said buy one on the bottom, sell one on the top. I couldn't get it in this case. But, and here's the big but, I entered this trade at 12.16. This trade expired at 12.20. So how much time did this trade have left in it? Go ahead and type that in chat, okay, for the bonus point. So what I did in this case is I found one that I was okay with on the bottom side, and what I did is I sold two on the top side. So did I take more risk than the normal rules? Yes. But was I okay with that risk? Yes. Now, literally, what it did was it stayed right within the range that I thought. Remember, I had 4 minutes, right, to go. Literally, here was the candle. It was dead in the middle of my box. These are 5-minute candles, by the way. Okay. So see this last little red one here? I said, you know what? If it doesn't bounce to here, it doesn't bounce to here. I'm in the dead time, right? There's nothing going on. I got 4 minutes left, right? 4 minutes. I'll take a little bit extra risk. And then 4 minutes later, I got my payouts. Okay. So in this case, I made $51.50 in 4 minutes. Now, how many people are, liking that one, right? Could I have done that during lunch? Absolutely. It's right in the middle of lunchtime. I mean, 4:16 to 4:20 is when I took this trade. $51, I'm out, And again, that was just on the one contract. You guys could have done 10 contracts, right? You could have done 10, 10, and 10, right? Or if you found one on the top side, that could have been $505 or $510 in 4 minutes. Okay, that's why it's so great. All right. Now, here's another example. Now, this one I did follow the rules correctly, and I actually got more on the top side. I got 75 and 30. So this one was even better, right? I wasn't just going for 50-50. I was actually getting a little bit more out of it. Same thing, okay? This one, I got into it at 12.20, and they expired at 12.40, okay? You can see here's the ticket right here. See, you guys, 12.20 is when I executed the order. It was the 12.40 binary. Volume had tanked and literally gone down to almost nothing. Literally, it was already starting to kind of get stuck in here, right? Here was the strike prices I bought, right? I bought this low. I sold this high. It was already here. And what did it do? Did nothing. Literally went sideways and expired. Once again, full profit. So this one was 20 minutes at another $54.25. All right. So again, yeah, exactly. Yeah, $50 in 4 minutes sounds great. Yeah, imagine doing that twice during lunch. Or instead of doing it twice, maybe just do 2 contracts. Like on this one, I bought one, I sold one, right? So what if I would have done 2 contracts or 3 contracts each side, right? Had I done 3 contracts each side, I would have made just over $150, right? $162 in 20 minutes. Do that. Just say you do that 3 times a week, right? Okay, make $150 3 times a week. That's $450 a week. Times that by 4, you're making just under $2,000, right? You're making $1,800 a month. What would you be able to do with an extra $1,800 a month? I'm sure quite a lot, right? Yeah, you can triple your money. Yeah. Yeah, you can scale it easily. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, money management is very, very simple. But you guys see kind of the power of being able to do these butterflies. It's fun. Here's another one. Now, this was a losing trade, and I'll explain why I lost it later, but I want you guys to understand my rationale. This was a weekly trade. Now, remember before I said it works best in small time frames, right? 20 minutes and 2 hours. This is actually a weekly trade, but I had a lot of things, and this is kind of something I want you to think through in your head. Get a little creative with this one, right? So literally when I logged on the Nadex platform, what it told me was there's a big holiday this week in Japan, right? I think it's the next slide. Yeah, right here. It told me, it said, hey, listen, Friday is closed, right? They're having a holiday. I'm like, okay, I didn't know that there was a Japanese holiday Friday, but great. Thank you for telling me. So what I said was, wait a second. So instead of 5 days of trading, there's only 4. So you know what I did? I went and said, I wonder how much Japanese news is this week. So I went over there and guess how much I saw? Absolutely none, right? It's like saying, how much news are we going to have before Thanksgiving? Typically nothing, right? People are taking the extra time off, and that's what I found. So I went back and I did my analysis. I was like, my God, this thing has been in here for about a month and a half. It hasn't left this range. Now, this was the bottom range, right? The dotted line on the top was the top range. So when I'm setting this trade up, it was literally right in the middle of these 2 strikes. I'm going, man, I don't typically do this on a weekly basis, but I can't find a reason not to take this shot. I mean, my risk is low, right? It's a 1-to-1 or better, and I know how to do it better, so I wasn't necessarily concerned about it. So I said, I wonder what the strike prices look like. So what I did is I got into this. I got the range that I wanted, right? 72.50 and 32.50. Here's the range, right? This is what happened. I got into it right here. When this went from red to yellow, I had a 200-point range, right? My profit goal would have been $60. I risked 40 to make 60. I got to Wednesday evening, and I'm like, man, this is going to work out. This is amazing, right? Sometimes you got to trust your strategies, even though it wasn't something that I had tested on a weekly basis. Well, I don't know if you guys remember that time, but this is the first time that North Korea decided to shoot some missiles over at Japan. So obviously the market moved a little bit, right? It gave me this little pop right here, right? This is where the contract expired. This was Wednesday night. This is where it ended on Thursday. All right. So I ended up getting out of it with a very, very tiny loss, right? Because it came down here and broke my rules. But here's where I want you guys to get the takeaway from this, right? This big red candle, this is the, oh my God, North Korea just shot missiles at Japan. What did it do? It collapsed. And once the market said, okay, they didn't hit anything, they're not really shooting it. What did it do? It continued to go sideways. It came and crashed to here, and it closed right here. So had the missile not been shot, right, where do you guys think this one would have ended? Most likely right here. Right? Take this block, stick it right here from where they started shooting missiles. So again, was it sound? Yeah. Did I make money on it? No. But when I get out of it at a zero trade, was it worth the shot? Risking 0 to make 60, how many people would take that trade? I'm sure a lot of you, right? And if you don't, you're on the wrong webinar, okay? We can pass cookies and juice around later. When you can find an opportunity to risk $0 and make 60, it's absolutely worth a shot at that one. And again, say this thing collapsed and went all the way down to 0. How much would I have lost? Worst case scenario, the $40 that I was into the trade for. Okay? Like I said, great trade setups. Okay? Again, that one didn't work, but you're not going to win all of them. That's just trading. Okay? But there's so much to take away from that one. Just to learn from it. So that's sideways trading. So let me mention what Nadex news traders are. Now, this is personally my favorite. There's 2 ways to trade news. There's or basically 2 different outcomes to news. If they say that we're going to have 4 million extra barrels of oil this month, that's what's in the inventory. And it comes out and it's exactly at 4 million barrels, right? What's going to happen? Nothing, right? Now, if they say that we're going to have a 4 million barrel surplus, and then when the number comes out, it's minus 4 million, we're lower than 4 million, what happens? Boom! Oil jumps all over the place. That's what news trading is. Now, when we're trading news, we want the news to be unexpected. They say, well, Bryan, does that happen often? Yeah, about 70% of the time, the news is wrong, right? I mean, ask yourself, if you had to give a percentage of how right, the weathermen are, what percentage would you say? How about Hurricane Irma? How many different projections do we have for Hurricane Irma? There was like 150 different outcomes and directions, and they kept drawing it different and different and different and different. And then you can look at Hurricane Jose, and how many times has that thing spun around in a circle as it is already, right? So again, people can try to predict the future, but it's impossible. Crystal balls don't exist. That's why news trade is so exciting. Now, there's a lot of times that you could trade news too, and this is another reason why I like it. You can trade it at 4:30 in the morning, and you're going to say, what the heck is at 4:30 in the morning? Well, it's simple. That's the European market, so there's a lot of stuff to trade at 4:30 in the morning. There's 8 to 10:30 in the morning. That's U.S. news. There's 2 p.m. That's like yesterday with FOMC, right? Those things come out at 2 p.m. There's 9:30 at night, and that's when you start having the Japanese and Australian news coming out. So they literally can be traded all day long, okay? This is what a news trade looks like, all right? Unlike the butterflies, news, there's typically increased volatility. There's kind of explosions. Now, do I know what direction the explosion is going in? No, I don't, but at the end of the day, I don't really care. I'm just playing it with, looking for the explosion. This was a situation, and I actually traded this two separate ways, okay? I traded this one with natural gas, and if you look down here, here was natural gas 5 minutes before the number came out. Actually, here was 5 minutes before, okay? It literally dropped right before the news came out. Why? Because to push price up, the big guys in the market have to, drive the price lower so they can, get some orders from people, right? What happened is they were off, right? What happened? Boom, shot up instantaneously and then continued to grind higher the rest of the day. So I traded this one two different ways. I traded it with a spread as well as a binary option. I took $84 out of this one, right? And I took $100 on this one, okay? Very, very simply, I wanted them to be wrong. They turned out wrong. I've risked little. The market exploded up. It could have exploded down. I would have made the same exact money as well. Okay, so they're both very profitable. And there's all different types. I mean, there's typically between 15 and 20 news trades a week. Currency moves, there's natural gas, there's non-farm payrolls, probably the biggest, FOMC, oil inventories. A couple of weeks ago, Eric sent out an amazing trade on the NASDAQ. And why did he do it? Because Apple was coming out with a product release, right? When Apple, releases a product, what does it do to the NASDAQ? It typically moves it, all right? So a lot of different things you can trade with oil, Here's another one. You can see this one. Here's an example of the natural gas inventory, the one we just showed you. The forecast was supposed to be 38 billion, right? It came out, or I guess it's not billion. I forget what it. I'm missing it right now. But it's basically like cubic feet or whatever it's called, but for gas. They were actually at 28, right? So they missed it by 10. That's what caused this rally up, and then literally continued through the day. So it went from 289 to 299, which is a huge move in natural gas in one day. All right. Here's another one. Okay, this was the Canadian dollar GDP. And you're like, the Canadian dollar, what are you talking about? That doesn't move the markets. Well, it moves some markets, right? Remember, if I'm trading Nadex, I can trade currencies, I can trade commodities, and I can trade the stock indices, right? I can trade Japan even, right? In this case, their forecast was 0.2. It came out at 0.6. For anybody that's ever followed currencies, this thing dropped 100 pips in 15 minutes. Now, if I was here for the people that have been trading out there, right? If I was long this USD CAD pair, right, and I put a stop loss right here, right, when the news came out and this thing dropped down into here, would my stop loss have filled me up here? Probably not. With slippage, I probably would have got filled over here, right? If I had been wrong in Nadex, my stop loss would have got me out right here. Okay, in this case, I wanted it to go down. I played it down, and I made money on the way down. But see how fast, see how violent these news moves can move? I mean, they're wrong all the time, okay? Now, let's jump to overnight trend trader, okay? Just grabbed a drink there. So, overnight trend trading is another thing that you can do. And this is designed for people that want to trade after work, okay? These trades are typically placed from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That tends to be when you can get the good, idea of where trend's going to go for the evening. Now, a lot of people look at me kind of cross-eyed when I talk about this. It's absolutely amazing to see how much the markets move in the middle of the night. And people are like, what are you talking about? The market's not open. Yeah, but the markets are still open. They don't close, okay? Typically, a lot of these trades are very low risk because there's no news and there's no institutional traders out there. There's no market makers trying to make spreads. There's not a lot of volatility. So things tend to go, right? Markets move 24 hours a day, so why don't you make money when you sleep is kind of what my saying is for this one. In this case, if you look at this chart, let me explain it for the people that aren't good with this. Right here, okay, this is 6:11 p.m. You'll see it right here, right? You guys see my cursor? This line traveling up traveled 12 points to here. When did it end? 9:25 in the morning. Now, for some of you, it looks like your futures traders in here. That's a pretty decent amount of money, something moving 12 points in the middle of the night. Okay? You can make a lot of money. I mean, a lot of futures traders, guys that are day traders or, they're supposedly, day trade futures, they're only looking for 2 to 4 points a day. Why? They're like, well, if I trade, if I get my 2 points, times 2 contracts, I can make my, $200 to $300 every single day. And then it compounds, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe just $50 a day is what people are looking for, right? With 1 or 2 points. So this moved 12 in the middle of the night. I mean, how many futures traders would love to make 12 points every single day? You'd love it, right? But in this case, it happened in the middle of the night, so they weren't even thinking about it. Okay. This is what overnight trend traders for. Literally set this before you go to bed, wake up, take your profit out. Okay. Here's an example. This is actually, I can show you how much they've dropped. This is an NQ, so NASDAQ. This is how much movement we had overnight. Okay. Some nights, does it work every night? No, there was only, 23 over here. But 196, 380, 530, 384, 268. So here was the trade we set up. In this case, we were trying to take $25 risk, right? It was 25 ticks, 25 of these things, right? It's in Nadex, they talk about ticks a little bit differently for futures traders. But in this case, we were risking $25 to make 75. How many people like 1 to 3 risk to reward ratios? Every single person should raise their hand. So I bought it here, sold it here, made $75. So what's the most money that I could lose on this trade? Say it collapsed. Say we got invaded and the price dropped all the way down to here. The most I could lose is $25. Why? Because your maximum risk is determined when you buy into or sell into whatever you're buying or selling. Okay. There's no such thing as gap risk. I don't have to worry about any of those things with Nadex. All right. So 1 to 3 risk to reward ratio is how I like to do it. As you get better, you get higher and higher and up. 3 to 1s, 4 to 1s, 5 to 1s. Sometimes you even get more out of that. But I'll take $25 risk for $75 trades all day. It would have worked here. It would have worked here. It would have worked here. It would not have worked here. It would have been close to break even. It would have worked here, and it would have worked here. And in fact, this one was actually really short. If you notice this one actually completed in the middle of the night. A lot of times they do that. You'll wake up in the morning and you've already made your profit. All right. Here was an alert that I sent out. Again, a little bit busy slide, but let me kind of go over it with you. I basically had determined that we were going to see a collapse in this pair overnight, the euro dollar. So what I did is this is part of our alert service. And I literally said, hey, listen, I want you to short this strike, and I only want you to take $16 and $20 risk. Okay, that's it. What I told him is, listen, let's not shoot for the moon. I want you to risk $16 to $20. And once you double your profit, once you're making $30 to $40 on this thing, I want you to get out of it. I don't want you to be greedy because it is going to turn around most likely in the morning sometime. But I know it's going to drop overnight. There's no one trading the dollar CAD in the middle, or the euro CAD, the euro dollar in the middle of the night. But by 4 o'clock in the morning, when the European market steps in, they're probably going to start moving things around. So I sent the alert out to people. People got in. It cost $16 for me to get into the trade. And what I did is we set the profit target, and I went to sleep. And if you look over here, right, when the time actually closed, this thing actually hit full profit target, $50 at 5:07 Eastern Standard Time in the morning. So I was asleep. Okay. So for me, I woke up, checked my email and saw, hey, listen, I just made $50 on that spread last night. Okay. So how many people like this? Risking $16 to make 50. Now say you're okay with a $50 loss. I could have traded 3 of these, right? 16 times 3 would have cost me $48 risk. That's 3 contracts. If I risk my 3 contracts, then yeah, you know what? I'm going to risk, $48 overnight. Well, you just made $150. So you woke up to $150 profit in the morning. Okay. That's kind of a nice little thing, right? Nice little setup there. And these things happen all the time. Okay. Again, it's just one simple answer. All right. So let me look at questions real quick. Risk 25 is great, but does that mean that at the moment you only have a 25% chance to win? No, Ryan, it has nothing to do with chances to win. That's just what my risk is. Okay. And again, that was a spread, a Nadex spread, not an actual binary option. Okay. They have 2 different things that you can trade there. You can trade binary options or spreads. So that's why I did a spread. Eric, this is live results. I mean, there's the actual statement right there with the order executions. But I can't do much more than that for you. Playing on Chrome with buffers. I'm on Chrome. Looks like a lot of you are stuck with Chrome thing here. Okay. And Eric, this is actually the screenshot of the alert that I sent out to people as well. Okay. So it is what it is. So what are your next steps? Okay. I've kind of laid these 3 things out. The first thing I'd like you guys to do is go open up an Nadex demo account. It's free. Get in there, start playing around. Until you guys get some training or know what you're doing, don't obviously put real money in there. You can put real money in there very, very fast, but I don't recommend doing it until you have gotten a little bit of experience with it. Okay. I do recommend installing some type of charting software. We tend to use Thinkorswim, but you can use any platform that you like. It doesn't matter. You just need to be able to see charts. Nadex actually does have its own charting software that you can use. There's 3 little buttons that you can, it almost looks like a signal strength icon that will actually pop up a chart. It works okay. It's a little bit clunky to get used to, but you can do that if you're, a little bit computer challenged. And then for those of you that are kind of intrigued about this one, I would say get enrolled in the actual full 30-minute trader program. As I said in the beginning, I don't have time to, I mean, literally there is about 9.5 hours worth of training with examples and videos and everything to teach you guys how to fully do this. I don't have time to kind of go through it, but I just wanted to give you guys the concepts tonight so you guys can kind of understand what we're looking to do and when. And as I mentioned before, if you're going to be a daytime trader, focus on certain things. If you're going to be a nighttime trader, focus on the overnight trends or even maybe the news. I only had time to cover the butterflies today, but the butterflies is the one that is probably the easiest for people to grasp to start off with. All right. So let me go through what the complete 30-minute trader course looks like. It's actually 3 separate training courses that are part of the program. First is the Nadex butterfly course. What I'll do is kind of expand upon what we covered tonight about how to get into them, how to find them. Particularly the finding the right strike section is probably the most popular. As well as the examples, as well as the advanced exits. The advanced exits are how do you get out of these things with basically slim to none loss. Then there's the news breakout course. That's an entirely separate course. And then the third one is the overnight trend course. So I typically tell people, pick your favorite, master that first, and then jump to the next one. We had some people that went through all 3 of them over a weekend and just went crazy with it. And I keep getting emails and text messages of the success that they've had already, and it's been great. I'll show you a couple of those in a second. Other things that we want to throw in there to help you become more successful faster is we're going to give you guys a thinkorswim Nadex indicator. The indicator is very helpful when you're trying to like map these things out visually, whether it be a news breakout or like for some of the butterflies, to visually be able to see things on a chart makes it easier and more confident. We'll actually also send you nightly trade videos to your email, and then we also give you 1 month of Nadex alerts. And people say, "What is a Nadex alert?" Well, that last trade that I showed you, you would have gotten this on your text message. Hey, I want you to sell this. Well, not want you, but this is what I'm looking at. I can't tell you what to do with your own money, but I can tell you this is what we're doing. We're trading short. We're taking this strike. We're risking this. If you want to take it in your account, it's entirely up to you. But what we're doing is we're giving those away, basically 1 month of those for free, and it's included in there, and it's a $250 value. Use those for education purposes. A lot of people take them. We actually have one student, Ty, who made $1,500 on his first week. Actually, the first 2 days of trading the alerts. He's been like one of the most exceptional students I think I've ever had. He's the guy that actually did all 3 courses over the weekend. Is everybody going to have his success instantaneously? Probably not. But like I said, Ty is one of those guys that he's just really just absorbed the information and gone absolutely insane with it. He's turned into an amazing trader, and I love getting the emails from him as well. So not only these 3 courses, but throwing in these is about a $548 value just in the actual pluses. The retail cost of it, if you went to the website, you could purchase it for $499. And I say retail because you guys actually took the time to come out here tonight, so I'm going to make it a little bit better for you guys. And in reality, what I want to do is make this to where it's a no-brainer for you. If we're making $50 to $100 every trade, I wanted to make this down to a price point where literally you have to say, hey, listen, I can't not have this, and we can go from there. So for attending tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to reduce this tuition down to $199. And like I said, you get the indicator, you get the nightly videos forever, and you get 1 month of trade alerts. The trade alerts have been very, very successful. And you may say, well, how successful, Brian? Show me the proof. These are some of the things that people have said about them. Great start here. Eurodollar played out exactly per plan. 300% gain with conservative exit. Looking forward to the courses and more alerts. Okay. Another one, Kathy, and it's actually interesting. I was in Austin, Texas a week before she sent this, actually doing a training. And she signed up on the first day, was extremely excited. The lessons are very easy to understand, and you make it easy to grasp. I'm sharing my enthusiasm for your course with my fellow traders in Austin. I was like, I was just there, Kathy. You should have mentioned me earlier. A lot of people are always concerned when we get into any education. Am I going to understand it? Am I smart enough to do it? And that's why I've included this one. I try to make it so any single person, whether you're brand new at trading or you have tons of experience, to be able to grasp the concept. Here's another one from Greg. Greg is also very active. He emails me a lot to give me kind of feedback on things, as well as when he's had questions. I've tried to help him as much as possible. Here was an alert on the dollar CAD that I sent out to him. He got his entries. His risk was $15.25 on one side and then $16.75 on the other. So you're looking at just over $30 risk, right? There's his positions at the bottom that he sent me. That's his screenshot, not mine, when he got into him. He literally, he made his money on the one side, covered the other side, and literally he made $68 profit. Okay. Great course, great trade, great help, great customer service, great everything. I love it. And as I said, Greg's one of those people that not only did he watch the content, he wanted to make sure that he understood it. And again, he's been helpful in helping me actually make the courses a little bit better. All right. Here's some other things. These are messages that got sent in for Eric. I learned a lot. Took profits from the alert last week and today. Made $400 off the euro pound trade and $150 in the ES today in Nadex. This guy, I mean, if the course is $199, this guy's already doubled that. He's almost tripled. He's basically right there at almost tripling what he paid for the course in the matter of 1 week. Actually, that euro pound trade was a great trade. I was extremely happy to find that one and it worked out well. Here's another guy that did the same thing. He took the CAD trade. He got $32 per contract and he did 10 contracts. So I'll let you guys, kind of figure that one out. It literally exploded down, like Bryan said. I immediately jumped out with profit, let the other side run until expiration, and was already so far out of the money. He made $408 on that one. He could have made a lot more had he held it, but he wanted to get out. Again, Barry's very conservative. And same thing, last one, that's from Eric. A few minutes before 9:15, where I am, and I'm already done trading for the day, walking away with $99 in profit. Boom. Thank guys, you rock. Okay. Again, you guys can be done, $100 at 9:15 in the morning. Just think about what your day is. Catherine, how long are the 3 courses? Catherine, I'd have to add them up. I keep adding content to them as I find a little bit extra, extra information, better examples. Each course is about 3.5 to 4 hours worth of recordings. There are quizzes that are included, which obviously doesn't go into the time. And then I typically try to add examples to the bottom. So as far as an actual amount of hours, I'd say between 12 and probably 15 hours worth of actual content. If you were to go through everything and just kind of do them all at one time, I wouldn't suggest doing that. That's a lot to kind of learn. What I would do is, as I mentioned before, take the strategy, try to implement it yourself before learning the next one. The people that are most profitable besides Ty seem to be doing that. All right. So I mentioned before, the complete 30-minute trader course is $109 with reduced tuition today. I actually have a button for you guys to click on if you'd like. You can actually go. I think that one is sent. I think you guys can see that. I don't know if I can or not. Eric, if you're there, I'm not sure if you've sent the offer out or not. I can't tell if it is. But I'll answer any questions you guys have. And for some reason, if that offer link is not working, you can go to www.majorleaguetrading.com/30minute. And again, remember there is a slight delay. So when you ask questions, is there a discount for MLT members? No, Joseph. Actually, the course is already discounted. I can see an offer button. Okay, good. You guys can see it. There. Let's see. What about the FOMC? The forecast was for the same. Yeah, actually, market, the FOMC was kind of a big flop. I mean, literally, it opened and closed at the same exact. There was that spike down, and that's going to happen sometimes. I mean, the goal is really to, be prepared. You could have actually made money on that trade with our new strategy had you actually protected your profit on the way down. Like I said, losses happen. It's very odd that the FOMC does not move the market. But is there going to be times when it happens? Yeah, absolutely. You got to be prepared for that. Is Nadex still out of Canada? Yep, you still can't trade it in Canada yet. Anywhere on the price of that service? Yep, D. Eric can give you that information. Roy, Eric can tell you that one as well. It's free. Yeah, free. It's free for the first 30 days. What other questions? Let me see. I'm just scrolling down, guys, so it takes me a second as I scroll down. Ryan, I've never taken a trade in here that has 3 times the risk. I'm not sure which slide you're talking for that one, but yeah. Dan, actually, we don't. You typed a comment a while ago about bid and offer moves so fast. How did you put on 4 legs simultaneously? The only trade in this deck that we talked about that had 4 legs in it was a traditional option. That was definitely not Nadex. That was the Iron Condor slide. And you were buying puts and calls. And a lot of different packages, like particularly Think or Swim. You can put all four of those on simultaneously. But we don't have any four-legged strategies that we've currently released yet. We're working on one, but we don't have it released yet. No, Tim, it's completely separate. The Nadex Mastery course goes over Jack's 6 setups that he uses. The 30-minute trader course, the Nadex Butterfly Breakout and Overnight Trend are things that I created. So yeah, totally separate. So if you are a member of the Nadex Mastery course, this is something totally separate. Oh, thank you, Eric, for putting that out. You guys didn't see Eric right now just put in the chat window. If you need a Nadex demo account, please go there and open that up one. No, Ryan. Oh yeah. Ryan, if you bought 3 contracts, sure. Yeah, I mean if your original risk was $16 and you took 3 contracts, yes, you would have 3 times 16, which would be 48. But remember in that one, I said it's take $16 risk per contract, and then you're going to take anywhere from $30 to $50 profit. So remember, yes, 3 times the profit, but it's 3 times the risk. And if you're okay losing $16, you may be okay. I mean, I don't know what your world looks like, but maybe you're okay with a $16 loss. Maybe you're okay with a $32 loss. Maybe you're okay with a $48 loss. I don't know. I mean, there are some people that may be okay with a $160 loss. I mean, if you've ever traded futures, a $160 loss is that's not uncommon. It's all based off your account size. But again, even if you did say you took 10 contracts on that and you risked $160, you would have made $500 by morning time. Waking up to a $500 morning is a great way to start the morning. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can scale up risk and reward as your account balance grows. Yeah, and it's more about position sizing and money management. I actually talk about that in the trading course, about that exact thing. When to size up and how much to risk of your account and things. But the first thing is you got to do one contract first. No PDT rules. No. Yep, Andrew, it does. Yeah, actually, every one of the courses has a section or a lesson that's it talks about choosing the right strike, and that's honestly that's the hardest thing. When I started learning how to do this, that was the hardest thing. Was I mean I know what it's going to do, but you got to make sure you get in. And typically, like one of the hardest things, myself and Eric are the two that send out the alerts. One of the hardest things that we have to deal with is how do we get the alerts out to you before the prices change too much. So there are trades that we will take that we don't send out because the strike prices are going to be changing by the time you can see it. Like if we expect the prices to change in the next 20 minutes, we won't send them out because we know that it has to get text to you. You got to find it. You got to log in. The worst thing we want to do is send out trades that people can't take. So we're trying to find ones that give you plenty of opportunity. I mean, literally, there are people out there that will send you trades. I personally have dealt with companies like this where you subscribe to an alert service and they send you alerts, but you can never get into them. So every single trade that I send out, I always want to make sure that you can get into them. Like I said, there are some that unfortunately just move too fast that I can't get out to you guys. The commissions are Nadex are $1, and then after 50 contracts, it's $1. So if you did like 100 or 200, like Jack is actually taken, I believe, as high as 390 contracts, and he only paid $50. What is the cost of the signal service after that? Andrew, basically Eric posted a little bit farther down, and he actually had a link to it, I thought. But it's $895 for 6 months after the after the initial month. What about the trade room? Is that $99 a month? Tanner, it depends. If you sign up for the kind of trial of it, it does go to $99 if you like it. What is the cost of the sale service? No, my Canadian residents currently cannot trade on Nadex. I know they're having talks with it, but unfortunately, Canada actually has a very kind of strict policy because so many Canadian traders wanted to trade binary options. They went to offshore brokerage firms, which is like the biggest no-no you could ever do. And once they lost money by going to these offshore places, they lost money. So the Canadian government has kind of been like, "Hey, that's it. We're not doing this." But I know they're working on it. I mean, once something can get regulated in the United States, there's no reason that Canada can't regulate it to the same extent. And you got to understand, Nadex is an exchange. But it's new. It's growing. It's getting bigger every day and getting notoriety. And again, having that regulation, the CFTC regulation, is a big deal. That's not something that just anybody can get. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, the course is fun. And like I said, if you guys have questions about it, you can always email us at support@majorleaguetrading.com once you purchase the course. If you don't own the course, I probably won't answer too many questions. But for the students that have enrolled, I typically will answer any questions you guys send through. How does the stop work? Dean, when you buy anything with binary options, literally the maximum loss is already included in it. And you'll see, open up the demo. Eric sent that link earlier. Yeah, if you go to www.reportbinary.com/Nadex, that's where you can go open up a demo account. And when you do it, when you go to buy or sell something, it'll tell you what your maximum profit and what your maximum loss is. So it's actually already worked in. It's not something extra that you need to add. All right. So with that being said, we are now a little bit past our hour. I will go ahead and shut the workshop down. Remember, go to www.majorleaguetrading.com/30minute. For those of you that have enrolled, congratulations. I look forward to seeing you guys on the other side. Make sure you leave us comments in the course. Any recommendations on how to make it better, we're always willing to listen. If you don't understand something, please also shoot me a message, and I will do my best to help clarify it for you. I do my best to make sure that everybody's happy with what they've got. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and shut it down. Thank you so much for attending tonight, and I'll see you guys soon.